Shan from Fuschia Bakehouse, and I'd like to tell you about our award-winning bread mixes. We have the soda bread, the stout and the wheaten bread mix, and the recipes are based on the same recipes that we use in the bakery, and these are our top selling breads. They're simple, tasty and wholesome, and they're perfect for the novice baker as well as the more experienced. They don't take a lot of ingredients, they're very straightforward to make and are ready in under an hour. So why not give them a try? So this is the Irish stout bread mix. I like to use Guinness or our local Roddy, but you can use whichever local stout you have in your area. They're all equally good. We've just won a silver award at the 2020 Blas na HÉireann, so we're absolutely delighted to get the recognition that it's a top-notch product. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to melt the butter and the treacle in half the milk. Now the reason we don't add all the milk and the Guinness at this stage is if you add hot liquid to the mix, it'll start cooking the mix straight away and you end up with a very stodgy bread. So we want to add the liquid in when it's lukewarm, and by adding half cold milk and the Guinness, we cool it down to the right temperature. So firstly, we'll add in 10 grams of butter, just straight into the pot. And now I'm going to add the treacle, and I add the treacle straight into the pot because it's really sticky. So we're going to add 65 grams. And you can use a knife or another spoon to scoop it off. As I say, you can see it's really sticky. Okay, so now we're going to add half the milk, which is 75 mils, and you can either measure it straight into the pot or you can measure it in a jug and pour it in. There we go. And we'll just measure out the other 75 grams while we're here, and then we'll be ready to add in the Guinness. So the pot, we're going to take that over to the cooker now and put it on a low heat to melt both the butter and the treacle. So while the treacle and the butter are melting, I'm just going to finish off measuring out the Guinness, and I'm going to add it straight in along with the 75 mils of milk. We've got 50 mils of Guinness. Okay, so we just open up the pack, and it has a little zipper as well just to keep it fresh. So open it up and just pour it straight into the bowl. And I'll just get the wet ingredients and probably up. Yeah, and they're nicely melted. Now sometimes they do split a little bit, but it doesn't make any difference to the quality of the bread. That's the treacle and the butter melted, and I'm going to add in the cold milk and the cold stout just to cool it down, so as I say, it doesn't cook the bread before you get it in the oven. So I'll just make a little well in the middle and just pour the liquid in. It's quite a wet batter, but just give it a nice stir. Make sure everything's mixed in. There's a few wee steps to this recipe, but it's well worth the effort. It's a really rich, delicious bread, and it goes with so many things. Or it's good just on its own with nice salty butter. So I'm going to get the tin now, and we're going to pop this straight into the tin that's nicely mixed. So this is my baking tin for a £1 loaf. You can see it's had a lot of use over the years. I like to line it with a little bit of baking parchment. You can see I didn't even bother cutting it, I just tore it off the roll. If you don't have baking parchment, you can line the tin, or you can grease the tin with a little bit of butter, a little bit of olive oil. It is better with baking parchment, but it's not essential. So I'm just going to pop that in like that, as you can see. So now I'm just going to pour in the mixture straight into the tin. You can see it is a wet mix, but it turns out a lovely moist rich bread. So we've got it in the tin now, and I'm just going to give it a little shake to let it settle and knock out any wee air bubbles. And I like just to add a little sprinkle of oats, but it's not essential, it's just a habit I have. So I'm just going to pop the loaf on a tray. It just makes it easier to lift in and out of the oven, and I'm going to pop it in the oven for between 50 to 60 minutes at 180, and the length of time you bake your bread for depends on your oven, and you just check it at about 50 minutes, give it a wee tap on the bottom, and if it sounds hollow, it's cooked. So I'm going to lift my bread out. It's been about 50 minutes. It's looking lovely, and I'm just going to pop it out of the tin and check if it's cooked. That sounds great. And that's our bread made.